First, I would like to see about the. I would like to say something about the law in Afghanistan, and then the political and security situation, and then the internal displacement and children situation, and conclusion. If it goes as I was thinking, then it will take around half an hour, but maybe what's mindre? Less than half an hour. Yes. The Afghanistan constitution has been written in a way that it is possible to present it or use it more outside of Afghanistan than inside of Afghanistan. Because that time when the invasion happened and the Karzai regime had been installed, so the aim was that how to make a beautiful picture of a puppet regime, so one can use it then this in the Western countries, then to think about how it is useful inside Afghanistan, whether is it possible to use it at all in Afghanistan or not. So the form that the constitution, for example, has been getting was this form. And it has been used a lot in the Western country. In 2000, from 2001 until 2005 and 4 and 5, so the Western media was full of propaganda about how peaceful and how a democratic country Afghanistan is. One can find all those human rights principles in this constitution, more or less. And then this is much different than the Taliban law or the Mujahideen constitution that had been made in 1992 when the Najibullah regime had collapsed. But there one article in this constitution that limits the whole law system, and that is the capital chapter 1 article 3, where it says that no law can be in the contrary of Islamic principles. And this is the only article that actually is used now in Afghanistan. So, as the UNHCR says that, but the law is not respected either by the regime itself or by the other political parties and the actors in the political field there. So Afghanistan is now one of the most lawless country. But this is not just the law that is that can be followed there. It is mostly the tradition, culture, and the conservative values which is ruling in the country in practice. Although there's maybe good articles and some law in the paper here or there, but the way the political system is driven, it is based on the tradition and culture. In there, it is not some little number of bureaucrats which has studied in the Western country which is ruling. There it is the clerics, mullahs, and the tribal elders. So this is regarding the law. The political actors, the organizations and parties who are playing role in the political step in area, it's too much different and contradictory aims and powers and actors are taking part or playing there in the ground. And the way they play is not a democratic way of playing, but each one of them, almost each one of them wants to have Afghanistan just for itself, than to have Afghanistan as a common place for playing power play. So this is the NATO and ISAF forces, which has a leading role, and it is the Karzai government, and it is the different Mujahideen political parties, and it is the Ulama's Council, which is the cleric council. They have a national council which always comes with the recommendations about how this law should be practiced and that another law should be practiced or changed. Or they mostly use their power against the women's right and the democratic right, the civil society. And from another side, it is Taliban and different similar parties and groups around Taliban, like Haqqani Network, Al-Qaeda, and the Islamic movement of Uzbeks, and Tariq Lashkar Islam, which is like Islam's military movement. So there are almost 10 or 12 similar groups. So all of them are trying to have Afghanistan for themselves. And they are using weapons to drive their political scene and their will to win, for example, Afghanistan. So it is, Afghanistan today is like a bloody battlefield, although we don't see it very much in the Western media. Although it is not really possible to hide it anymore, but still we don't see it clearly. There is around 400 or 450,000 Afghan National Army, Afghan National Police, and U.S. troops, NATO and ISAF troops, which is in that side. And there is around 100 or 80,000 Taliban and the similar organizations, military, paramilitary group, soldiers they have. So it is a battlefield which for 500,000 soldiers from one side and around 100 soldiers from another side fight every day, 24 hours per day and night. Those who pay for this war, and this war is going on for now 12 years, and it is getting worse and worse every day. Those who pay for this war is the civilian people. They die, they lose their houses, their loved ones, their families, and there is no other possibility there or solution for them as well, where to go. In the first years, from 2001 and 2005-6, hundreds, thousands of refugees returned back from Iran and Pakistan, hoping to have a normal life in their own country. But when the war worsened, the security situation worsened, it was not actually possible for them to go out of the country again, because the situation for the refugees in Iran and Pakistan became much difficult than before 2010. So it was a kind of being kidnapped in Afghanistan. So they are paying for the war by their life, by their belongings, by their families. And the problem is that there is no clear statistic and there is no clear report that can show the civilians' casualties as clear as the foreign soldiers are shown. When there is an American soldier killed, so he or she is presented in the media in a more human face with, for example, very close pictures with the family, how many children he or she has, or how is feeling the family, and all those things. But you cannot find a list of civilian casualties in Afghanistan that is registering the name of those who are losing their life, the killed one, and even not an exact number of how much have been killed, for example, in 2010. So it's a kind of estimated number. And we know that the language is the power, especially today in the digital world that we are living in a very complicated society, which we get the news through the digital media. We never can go and meet face-to-face a survivor or to see the body of a dead person. So when we're getting to the digital media, the effect that we get through an estimated number is much, much less than a close picture that a soldier, for example, an American killed soldier, is presented in a CNN or BBC. So this is a way that media train us so we can get used to the horror of war in a normal way without feeling it inside of ourselves as a human, but to just hear it as a number and as a statistic number, which can be forgotten very soon. And this is the method which is already working very good in the Western media and in the Western society as well. We see that the anti-war movement and the peace movement is, I think, is in the very hopeless situation. We do not have a strong anti-war or peace movement as we had in the beginning of Iraq war or war in Afghanistan. And because we got used to hear it, well, we got used to accept that, well, Afghanistan is Afghanistan, yeah, it is always war. We cannot harm ourselves and think about it. There's always, or for example, Iraq or Palestine. So this is how we are trained in a digital world to accept and handle the horror of war without showing and coming to a reaction. If I was if I had the overhead, then I could show you all these graphs, which are describing very good how the situation was developing and is developing. So now we don't have it. However,
we can just explain it, because not a lot of people here.
Yes.
Make some copies.
Yes. Okay. Then it is possible. I don't know how much is useful after that, but it's okay. We will just keep on. Since 2006, the civilian casualty is rising every year by 20%, 15%, and 30%. So it is always going on. I think that it is possible to see it from there as well. This is 2007 and it's rising. So this is the way that the situation developed. But in the media, we had a better news in the 2007 and 2010. It started from 2005. In 2004, there's no data about the civilian casualties. So as I said, these are estimated number. In 2005, the United Nations Assistant Mission in Afghanistan, which is representing UN in Afghanistan, established a section that should had to register the civilian casualties. At the beginning, it was not open for everyone. They were registering it, but not everyone. The normal people like us did not have advent to it, had not right to see it. And after now, which is open, but they are presenting it in a way that's not possible to understand how much civilian people has been killed, because they are dividing it in a way inside in a long report, annual report, which is like 70 pages, for example. They are putting it in a way that it's not possible for a normal reader to understand it. So you have to be a scholar, professor to understand it. This is the way that they are presenting it. It is also the same graph. And this is also a graph which is showing from 1989 up to 2009 how much civilian people have been killed here in the war. And you see that these are the civil war period, 1993, 94, which was the worst period in Afghanistan. And now also we see that after 2006 up to 2009, which is here in 2010, the situation is either worse than civil war or up to that state. According to Amnesty International, over 100,000 people in Afghanistan were forced to leave their homes and seek safety elsewhere in the country in 2010. From 2006 up to now, an estimated of 500,000 people in Afghanistan become displaced. And they are just going around from this city to that city because the war is developing in a way that is not stable in one place. So they are just following the war or going in front of the war from there to here without having actually the basic needs for them. As the Amnesty International writes, it is an average of 400 people were internally displaced each day between 2006 and 2010. Just to keep in mind that these are the period that the situation for the Afghan refugees and asylum seekers in the Western countries became very hard as well. And countries like Norway tried to use a rhetoric that Afghanistan is peaceful now and you have to go and rebuild it. These who are displaced, they are living under the old tents in the winter around the cities or in the mountains, valleys. So, and they do not have access to health care, they do not have access to the clean water and enough food, and they are also the most forgotten part of the society in Afghanistan, because they are not politically important for any side to come to talk about them or to visit them. Neither for the Western NGOs, nor for the political parties, including NATO ISAF and also the Karzai regime and other political parties. So we don't know how much of them die in that situation and how much survives and actually where they are. These 500 that are estimated is not those who are living in the established camps around the country. These are displaced and they do not have actually one place to stay. They are on the move, but we do not hear about them. As the Amnesty International writes, conflict-induced internal displacement increased rapidly in the first half of 2011. The UN Refugee Agency estimates that nearly 100,000 people were internally displaced between January and June of that year of 2011. So, and we are in 2012 now. We don't know how much more became lost their home and on the move. So these are the shadow part of the society, and we actually do not find it easily on the net. You cannot find it in the Western public media, but also in the reports, in the research, you cannot find it easily. So you have to use time and go inside, detail inside the reports to find it. But this doesn't mean that this is not a human tragedy. This winter, 22 children died because of the cold winter. So it was a little news around about this, and some of the media covered it. But this 22 was just the peak of an iceberg. We don't know the rest. That's the problem with today's media. If they don't transfer their information, then we don't find at all about anything. That's the danger. It's good to have the international media. It's very good to have it then, but it's also the danger that we are very much dependent on them. There's no way to find if they don't do it, and they don't do it. The children are the most vulnerable part of the whole story. According to the United Nations report on the abuse of children's rights in Afghanistan. They write that the country task force for monitoring and reporting verified 26 out of 47 reported incidents that provide evidence that children were recruited by armed groups as well as by Afghan national security forces, including the Afghan National Police. The both sides use the children as the minor soldiers. Afghanistan National Police and Afghanistan National Army and also Taliban use them in the war and also misuse them sexually. And so in 2010, these are some examples. In 2010, there was some report about a checkpoint around Kabul, which was kidnapping the children underage and pressing them to dance for the commanders there at the checkpoint in the night, and they were misused, used as also as a sexual victim. So these are just stories, and many of them happen every day, and some of them comes to this, some research and reports. During the 2007 until 2008, 1,800 children have been injured and killed in the battlefields and the clashes between the Taliban and the NATO and ISAF forces. These are just some estimated numbers. So, we just to keep in mind that last year the Norwegian government authority signed an agreement with the Afghanistan authority to build what's called Omsorg Center. Yeah, before we understand it, for the children in Kabul, and then to deport back the underage asylum seeker from Norway to Afghanistan. There was not much reaction and protest about this, and the rhetoric, the argumentation that they used, the Justice Department Secretary Paul Lanseth, the iron face of the Norwegian authority now. They said that this is much better for these asylum seekers who are underage in Norway, Afghan asylum seekers, to go back and live in that Omsorg Center. So they are in the process to do it now. These reports are indicating that most civilians lose their life or become victim of the war in different way by the Taliban and the other similar parties on that another side than the Karzai regime or the NATO or ISAF forces. I don't know how much it is right, but no matter in which level it's correct, it can be used as an argumentation that if it is the Taliban who kill mostly civilians, how the Karzai regime can sign an agreement with the Norwegian authority to send the children back? It means that the Karzai regime cannot take care of them or provide security for them. So this was the the presentation I wanted to present today. Since I couldn't use the overhead, I don't know how much I achieved the aim to explain it to you. So now, thank you for that you heard me, and I hope you understood. Yes, a little. So now, yes, if there's some questions.